Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to One Hub Racing. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. It is time to announce which drivers are in which tiers for Season 16. We are sponsored by Next Level Racing and Liam 13. My name is Jess, and joining me to announce all the 4 tiers tonight, it is Austin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastically, Jeff. Jess.
I'm not
That's a great start.
I'm not an engineer, just saying.
Honestly, I wish you were. I would love to see Codemasters replace the real Jeff with you. Not much to change in terms of name, from Jeff to Jess, very close. But yeah, that was a great start. No, I'm having a wonderful time. I'm very excited to see who is in which tier. And I think there's a lot we have to talk about.
Yeah, there is a lot, and believe me, it took a while to decide a few tiers in particular. Not the tiers you might think, but we'll go through that in a second. So for those of you that don't know, qualifying night took place on Friday night to decide the tiers, and it was in Bahrain for the first time. And what was your general overview of all the 4 sessions on Friday?
The first thing I found interesting, and it sort of gave the drivers a little bit of a different scenario, is that it was Bahrain during the day. Because usually, obviously, Bahrain is always a night race, and even the qualifying happens during nighttime with all the floodlights and everything. So having it during the day when the sun is shining, everything's bright, it just makes the track feel completely different. And I think we saw that with some of the drivers, that they had to get used to that sort of feel. There were a couple of issues with some of the drivers that they didn't get going the way they maybe wanted to. They made mistakes that were sort of uncharacteristic for some of them. But I think in the end, we've seen from pretty much all drivers what they were capable of. Maybe a few exceptions, but we might get into those when we talk about the drivers.
Yep, indeed. So just a quick rundown of how we're going to announce the tiers tonight. So we're going to start, for each of the 4 tiers, we'll do it, announce the drivers. As soon as all 20 drivers are announced, we briefly go through them, and then we will announce the commentators for that tier, and then we move on to the next tier and do exactly the same all the way down to the final tier. We're going to do things slightly differently to last season. We're going to announce it in this order. Well, Prospect, we're going to be announcing first. Then we're going to be announcing Podium. And we're not going to be announcing Precision next. After Podium, we're going to announce Pinnacle, the top tier, because otherwise, if we announce Precision next after that, then people are going to know that they're in top tier. So it's going to keep a bit of a suspense on which of the drivers made it to the pinnacle of the pinnacle in One Hub Racing. And then that will be it. And we'll talk briefly about the team contract announcement. So hopefully everyone is ready for the chat, and get your reactions in as well in chat on if you see your name, if you hear your name being called out in that tier, were you expecting to be in the tier you were going to be in, or were you a bit disappointed as well? So I've got to say before we start, the bottom 2 tiers, they took the longest to decide, but we're going to do those first. And I'm going to hand over to the person who actually named this tier for Season 16, Austin. He's going to be taking you through the 20 drivers in Prospect.
Indeed, and the first driver is a very new one at One Hub, never raced with us before, but for the first time, and he starts off in the Prospect tier, which is sort of the idea of the whole tier. People who come in for the first time into One Hub, that's where they make their start, and iMajestic TV is going to be the first one. With him, former Precision tier driver Cloudy Balloons, after his switch to no traction control, saw him drop off a little bit in pace, and maybe he can find back his confidence in the Prospect tier. Then we have Truth NRP, former Podium driver. We also have in the Prospect tier our sponsor, Liam13_TTV. Just, cheeky little plug for him, maybe. Give him a follow on Twitch, Liam13. All no numbers, just Liam, the word 1, the word 3. We also have from the former Podium tier a couple drop downs in Nikki and Astronaut. He's certainly drivers who most One Hub Racing viewers are very well aware of, and should do very well in Prospect. I would say Nikki and Astronaut might be 2 of the favorites here, but we're going to get into the favorites probably later on. We've also got a new driver in Lazy the Twig. 2 more Podium drivers coming down to Prospect in Zach Jarvis and Aaron JS. Then 2 more new drivers in IGK ENZ, the creator of the telemetry analysis system that we are going to use across all tiers in OneHub for the upcoming seasons. Not just season 16, but it's going to be a bit longer than that. And is it GUS or Gus freeing?
I don't know. So go for it.
X is capitalized, so I don't know if it's Gus or GUS. I'm going to say GUS. But either way, he's in there. Then we have Jamie Met, one of our management members,
Head of teams,
and the head of teams, who is going to be in Prospect Tier. He's returning after his last stint being in season 13 in the Podium Tier. So he's been retired for 2 seasons, and now he's already had enough. And he says, you know what, I'm back. And I can't wait to see him. We also have in the Prospect Tier Kingen79, Gazaman, another member of our management, TFR_Storm Gaming, 2 more former podium drivers in Stevie Hart, and Indecisive Mac, one of our new commentators as well. So we're going to talk about him probably later on as well. Then 2 more new drivers in Pav, 0925 and iDaco. And the last one, the certainly not the least one, former or last season's Pinnacle commentator, Alex Lilliard.
I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry about that. And anyway, those are all the 20 drivers in Prospect Tier, and my oh my, this is going to be probably one of the most competitive bottom tiers I've seen in a long time. Obviously, we got to talk about Nikki and Astronauts. Obviously, Astro won the Constructors with Eva Hannan, who was in the Podium Tier last season. Will he stay in Podium Tier this season? We'll have to wait and see. And Nikki came second in Podium Tier last season, but obviously his time trial let him down a little bit. But I'll see those 2 are the favourites as well. Gaza. Will Gaza actually have a good season this season? Will he challenge the likes of Nikki and Astronaut? Because he's been in the bottom tier for quite some time now.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think for Gaza, I mean, you look at his results last season, he got 36 points in the Podium Tier. Now with the likes of Eva Hannan, obviously, moving maybe to higher callings, if you will, maybe there's an opportunity here for Gaza to get some more points, get some podiums, maybe even the odd win. But it's going to be tricky because you got to remember there's a lot of drivers who have been in Podium Tier last season who have moved down. Nikki, one of the top names that come to mind, Astronauti as well. And beating them, that's going to be tricky.
It is going to be tricky. So good luck to all of those. And I'm just going to announce as well that Gaza will be your tier coordinator for Prospect Tier. So a familiar face. Quite a lot of you have added him already. So if you're in Prospect Tier, make sure you add Gaza Man on your PSN. Make sure you do it now. And the commentators for Prospect Tier, we're going to announce it a bit earlier this time once the tiers are announced, because we didn't want to leave you guys hanging. And I know there's commentators watching saying what tier we're commentating, or if they're commentating at all. So the commentators for Prospect Tier is IGK Sam T. He's been promoted from reserve commentator to full-time, which is great news. So congratulations to him. He'll be leading the commentary duo for the Prospect Tier. And alongside him is one of the new commentators for One Hub Racing, V8 Field, also known as Dan. He's actually changed his Twitter as well to Danny MG Fan, which I find quite hilarious, but there we go. But yeah, Sam and Dan are your commentators for Prospect Tier for season 16, which will start at 6:15 UK time. Now, we're going to move on. Just give me a moment. I almost revealed the Podium Tier lineup there. So we're now going to move on to Podium Tier now, the 20 drivers in Podium Tier. So we're going to start off with Rich 500, who was looking very good in the pre-season race. He has made the jump to the second bottom tier, which is technically, he stays in podium, so well done to him. Second driver is former podium driver who was in season 14, SD Mats. another returning Season 14 driver who is back for Season 16 is Pizza Parker. Then it's another returning Season 14 driver, a KK21. Then we have last season's podium driver, TC13-92. Then we have another podium driver from Season 14, Zeppadoodle. Then we have another podium driver of Catboy Key. We have 2 new drivers of Slenderman XXI and CSGB Rayman 13. Next, we have the 2 Hoffner brothers. We have Kong Hoffner and Lee Hoffner in the same tier. Next, we have Precision Tier driver and tier coordinator for this tier, Scorpion Hun. Then we have Podium Tier driver from last season, Ponage Town, making the jump up. Making the jump down, next is Vitinio1108. Making the jump up are these 2 drivers who were teammates last season, Riley Buys and ILRT Dexter. And Dexter is a management member as well. Then we have GR_Broomer, who's making his return to One Hub Racing. And the final 3 drivers, all from Precision last season, were Cam K Mum 153, Chris, who was in the Ferrari last season, and TTG King J, which is King Jorit. So there is your Podium Tier lineup for Season 16, Austin.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the one thing I'm looking forward to, as you mentioned already, is the battle of the Hoffner brothers. I mean, every time, we've seen this in real F1 back in the day with Michael and Ralf Schumacher, every time you have a sort of battle between brothers or any sort of family members, it's always something interesting to watch and look out for. And if those 2... I mean, maybe they'll end up in the same team, which will add even more drama to the whole situation, because not only do you have brothers, you also have the 2 brothers racing for the same team, and if they do battle, and if they do come together, then it's not just that the 2 family members have come together, but also teammates, which would just add another layer on top. So I'm really, really excited for this. I hope they do end up in the same team, but obviously we don't know at this point.
Jamie?
Jamie. What just happened?
No, I was just hinting to Jamie. I was hinting to Jamie.
Jamie, if you're listening, make it happen. But the one thing that does surprise me is that Chris, who we've seen over the years, I mean, he's the only driver of all the 80 drivers who has been in One Hub Season 1. Season 16 now, so long time ago. You know, most of you may have been, still in primary school. I just, barely got done with my A-levels, just graduated high school, because I'm old. But either way, Chris, an absolute mainstay of One Hub in the Podium Tier. I would not have expected that. I expected him pace-wise to be in the Precision Tier, but maybe he doesn't feel comfortable with the F1 2020 game. I have to say, I was very surprised at his qualifying night time, and I thought he made a mistake or something, could have done better. So maybe there's a bit of, I don't want to accuse him of sandbagging. I'm just going to say this, maybe there was accidental sandbagging going on there with Chris, and he didn't fully activate his potential in qualifying night. So he might be someone to look out for in Podium Tier as a challenger for the title.
Yeah, and I've just had confirmation from Nick and all them on the management team that your tier coordinator for the Podium Tier, if he's all right with doing so, is Dexter. So make sure you add Dexter on at PSN, as he's going to be making his debut in coordinator for the very first time, as well as management. So, yeah. Now, this is a tier everybody wants to know about. Basically the Pinnacle Tier. We are going to be announcing that next, but before that, I forgot to say the commentators. I completely forgot the commentators for the Podium Tier. And I've got to say, he did it. I'll give you a clue to who the first one is. He also commentated in Podium Tier for Season 14, and he is making his return to the commentary team after a season off. He did race in qualifying night on Friday, but he realised he missed commentating and he wants to join the commentary team. So we let him back in. So Brett is going to be the lead commentator for the Podium Tier, and joining him will be cat named Minty. So great commentary lineup there, and I'm looking forward to them commentating the action at 7 p.m. every Friday night. So, are you ready for the Pinnacle Tier? Who are the top 20 drivers in One Hub Racing? And I thought I may as well leave it to one of the commentators who's going to be commentating for Pinnacle Tier, our very own Austin.
Yes, indeed. I'm very excited for this whole lineup and being able to commentate for 10 races over this whole group of drivers. We're going to start it off with very much a surprise, a new driver who made it into Pinnacle Tier straight away. And not just that, he absolutely wowed everyone by setting the fastest time on qualifying night across all 4 lobbies. He was the fastest. French F4 driver, IGK Zach 06. He will be one of the Pinnacle Tier drivers. And we obviously had to bring back the man himself, the big chungus, BDG Louis, the Pinnacle Season 15 champion, back to defend his title. And I think that might be the battle we're going to have to look out for, Zach versus Louis. But Zach may have a little bit of backup in his back pocket. And there's another IGK driver, also new to One Hub. His name is IGK Gill, and he will also be in the Pinnacle Tier. Then we have returning Pinnacle drivers Josh M97 and Lakitu886. We also have a returning driver who wasn't in One Hub last season, but he's been in One Hub before, Glock4495, also in the Pinnacle Tier. Another new driver, very quick one, I've had the pleasure of commentating over him before, Pat_X, part of Pinnacle Tier now. 2 more returning Pinnacle drivers in ILRT Westy and Skeven. Now the next one is the one I'm very excited about because he's basically a part of One Hub history at this point. I don't want to say he's a relic from old times, but he sort of is. However, he's been brushed off, he's been renewed, and he is back and probably better than ever. Beast Haas makes his return to the Pinnacle Tier Season 16. A couple more Pinnacle drivers returning from Season 15 Pinnacle to Season 16. Harry BR25 and SOR Hamilton 44. We also have a returning driver from Prestige Tier Season 14 in Samster F1. Followed by 2 more former Pinnacle drivers from Season 15 in Midnight JL13 and Larkin 45. And the final
4S.
Oh, 4S. My apologies. Hard to tell apart with my bad eyesight. There's a reason I'm wearing glasses. The last new driver in Pinnacle Tier. So everyone who's new in One Hub who hasn't been named yet, this is your last chance. Otherwise, you know where you'll end up. Is MMA_/. Then we have a couple of precision drivers who made the jump all the way up. Even though we increased from 3 to 4 tiers, they still made the jump. That's how good they were. And that's where they are now in the Pinnacle Tier. Konzo 1993 started the season, last season, Season 15, not really being on that many radars, but ended fabulously, finishing the whole season in 4th in the Drivers' Championship and carrying Williams to a fantastic 3rd Constructors place as well. And the other one being VER Compassion 99. He made it into the Pinnacle Tier as well after having only a couple races last season. I mean, he had 2 races last season. He came into One Hub, had 2 races, both of them on the podium. He got 2nd in Britain and won the season ender in Brazil. And if that's not a performance to behold and that should put him into Pinnacle Tier, then just let me tell you that he won that Brazilian race by starting from 17th place. So if anyone was worthy of that jump from Precision to Pinnacle, it's certainly VER Compassion. The last two before we get to the Precision tier. And I'm going to try to make this quick. Cliffy, 7765. And another returning driver, Prestige Season 13 and Season 14, J Fletcher 6, which is not J Fletcher, it's Josh Fletcher. But his name is J-Fletcher 6. So those are all 20 Pinnacle Tier drivers. And I'm very excited for that driver lineup.
That looks amazing, I've got to say. And one thing that's really exciting is Cliffy is making his return to One Hub Racing, which obviously there was one driver that we thought that wasn't quite up to the pace, and he wasn't responding to any of our messages and didn't show up to qualifying night. So we replaced him with Cliffy, who I'm happy with. He is a former Constructors Champion for One Hub. He has been in so many seasons of One Hub, a lot of stats, I've got to say, for him. His name is Tony, if you don't know, and I think you'll be very excited to go back to his home, pretty much, of League Racing. I'm so glad he chose us, to be honest. And get that hype, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to say. And Josh as well, who was in the top tier last time as well. I'm very excited for him. But the question that is on everyone's lips, can anybody stop Louis from taking a third top tier title?
That is going to be the question that will be answered over 10 races. I think there's a couple of drivers who certainly have a chance. I mean, we look at Zach and his qualifying night time. If he can keep up that sort of pace, the one issue that he might run into is because he's a French F4 driver, and over the course of a 10 race season, sorry for the barking dog in the background, over the course of the 10 race season, the French F4 holds 5 races. So it might be that he's going to miss plenty of races and will not be a part of the championship fight. However, there's also IGK Gill, and I think those two are probably going to be talking a lot, both being part of IGK. There's certainly going to be some intelligence sharing going on, setup sharing, all that stuff. Maybe, just maybe, that helps, and maybe Gill can bring the fight to Louis.
Okay, and I know all the commentators watching would like to know if they've been placed with the lovely Austin for Season 16. There's still quite a lot of commentators are still waiting to find out their spots, but I can reveal that the commentator that will be joining alongside Austin for Season 16 is Jake Warrior. He impressed me a lot in qualifying night commentary. He was absolutely fantastic, and I'm so excited for him to cover the Pinnacle Tier alongside Austin at 8:30 p.m. The only time that did not get changed. 8:30 p.m. It's staying the same as last season. So I'll repeat, your commentators for Pinnacle Tier are Austin Smith and Jake Warrior. Okay, so if your name wasn't read out, then you're more than likely going to be in the Precision Tier unless you've been put on the waiting list. But we're going to tell you what they are anyway. So let me just get the list up very quickly. There we go. I'm going to do it in a random order. First of all, the first driver in Precision Tier, it comes as no surprise, is Precision Season 15 champion, Janel16_. Can he defend his Precision Tier title? He was second top last season. Well, tier last season. He's second top this season. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. Another champion of One Hub last season is also in Precision Tier. He's made the jump by 2 tiers. That's incredible. And that is Eva Hannan, who was Podium Tier champion last season. Will he break the Podium Tier curse and score well this season? We'll have to wait and see. Next, we have former, Precision Tier driver last season of ART_Ivan_. Then we have a new driver of CSGB Jimbo Manzi. Then we have returning driver from season 13, Scope Fielder. Then we have Lawrence D 1989, who was in Precision last season. Then we have a returning driver of Olly_M 2000. Then we have 2 more Precision Tier drivers, Khalifa and Danestar. Then we have a Podium Tier driver of Jonas Ulbricht, again making the jump up from Podium last season, from bottom tier last season. He won his first race in Britain last season, and everyone was delighted about that. Next, we have another new driver of JLuke11. Then we have one who's made the jump down from Pinnacle, sadly. I think the only one that's made the jump down from Pinnacle, and that is Olly Flaval. Next, we have the tier coordinator for Precision Tier this season, and our graphics man, Lukey. Then we have another new driver, Kajman. Oh, I can't even say it. Do you know how to say this name, Austin?
I would think it's Cayman.
Cayman, okay.
Cayman. Like the Porsche.
Cayman, okay, Cayman. Then we have Prospect Tier commentator and was positioned for a little bit last season for racing, Sam T _2709. Then we have Precision Tier driver from last season, Zippy, who benefited from the disqualification from Carlsbury last season. Again, I'm shocked that Carlsbury has not returned, but there we go. 2 more new one more new driver from the Precision Tier, Schnitzel. We have the final, we have Mr. Simp, who was for Precision last season, and for those of you that don't know, his name was Maurice. And then we have the final 2 drivers of Season 16 in Precision. If your name's not called out after that, then you will be on the waiting list. It is Don DeBoer and Kian. Those are your final drivers for Season 16. That is your Precision Tier lineup.
Yeah, it's a fantastic group of drivers. You said it comes as no surprise that Janel remains in the Precision Tier. I have to say I am surprised. I would have expected him to make the jump up to Pinnacle Tier, considering that we do have Konzo and Compassion moving up. But what I'm also thinking, maybe, just maybe, Janel struggles a little bit on the new game, and that's why he wasn't able to make that jump up. He certainly is one to look out for the Precision Tier Championship. But I have to say, I was a bit surprised. However, at the same time, what that gives us now is 2 champions in the Precision Tier, in Janel and Eva Hannan, both reigning defending champions, one of Precision, one of Podium, and both are looking to prove something. They're not the only ones looking to prove something. I mean, just think back to Lukey's last season, which was just, I mean, it makes you think that maybe Lukey's last season was sort of a prediction of what was going to happen to Sebastian Vettel in the real life Ferrari this season, because it was just, there was not much he could have done. It was just errors over error. It was unbelievably heartbreaking to see. Ultimately, he did get a 3rd place in Britain in his home race, which at least, salvaged his season a little bit, but he was struggling so much over the whole season, and ending, remember, he's a former Constructors champion with Chris in the Ferrari. So ending the season for Lukey on just 47 points in P7 certainly was not what he was hoping for. And I think he has something to prove this season to show that was just a one-off, and he's coming back better than ever.
Yep, indeed. And I'm going to announce the final commentators for Season 16, the final ones that have made the jump in the Precision Tier commentary. I am pleased to say it, our reigning commentators champion and former Precision Tier commentator, Luke Etheridge, is going to be leading the commentary duo for that one. It's nice that he's returning to the Precision Tier commentary box. Who's gonna reign over Luke? Is anyone gonna beat Luke in the commentators championship? We'll have to wait and see. And joining him, it's quite similar to last season. Last season, he was joined by a driver of the Podium Tier last season, which was Liam. He's joined by a Podium Tier driver from last season as well, and a current Prospect Tier driver as well, who you did mention at the start of the broadcast, Austin, which I hope you didn't, but it's too late now. But if you haven't guessed already, Indecisive Matt will be making his commentary debut in the Precision Tier alongside Luke Etheridge. And for those of you that don't know, the position tier commentary will start, well, the stream will start at 7:45 p.m. UK time. So, yeah, that is all we got to announce for the tiers. And I've got to say, I just want Season 16 to start now.
Yeah, absolutely the same. We're going to have to wait 2 weeks. The first race is going to be August 21st. So 12 days from now. And it will be one of the new tracks on the F1 calendar. And most drivers say the good one of the two, which is Zandvoort. So very excited to see how the drivers get on with this track. We have currently 6 tracks announced officially, 6 deals signed with the track organizers, with the track, sort of runners. Netherlands, France, Belgium, Monaco, Austria, and the US Grand Prix. The other races, well, you're going to have to follow the One Hub Racing Twitter account at One Hub Racing to see when they will get announced. But we have 4 more races left. All the October races still left to be announced.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course. Obviously, we both know what the tracks are, but we're not going to say, of course. We're going to keep it on at the down low. So, yeah. And don't forget, just a reminder, for those of you that missed out on your tier placement, it's now on Twitter. So if you check the One Hub Racing Twitter, all 4 tiers have now been posted. So find your name, and if you're in there, great. If not, message One Hub Racing, as you're most likely being put on the waiting list. But one thing we've got to announce is, I do believe in about 5 minutes' time, team contracts will be open where you could apply for as many teams as you want, providing you meet the criteria of choice. If you're a new driver, you can only apply for the bottom 4 teams. But if you've been in One Hub for at least 1 season, you could apply for the middle teams, the top teams, depending on... Well, if you apply for the top teams, if you've done really well in 1 season, but middle teams you can apply there, so if you've done 1 season. So that's just a quick idea, and you will be able to find that on the One Hub Racing site very, very soon. And I can't remember when the contract closed. I need to actually double check that. Just give me a second. I should know, but I forgot to write it down because we were sorting out the tiers. So calendar. Pre-season, there we go. So contracts released on the 14th of August. So you don't have that very long to get your applying, and only 10 drivers per tier will be getting a contract from the team, as organised by our team bosses and head of teams. And if you do not get a contract, then you'll have to negotiate with one of the 10 drivers who have got a contract in your tier and see if you can be teammates with them. So, it'll be interesting to see who applies for a contract and who is successful, but that will all be revealed on the 14th of August, who are the 40 drivers who have got a contract.
Yeah, that can be certainly an interesting situation. We've seen it the last couple of seasons with Lukey and Chris, who've been perennial teammates, and you always want to make sure that one of you gets a team and not both of you get different teams. So if you do have someone who you think is you want to be teammates with this or that person, then it's probably smart that you tell each other, hey, just one of us applies. That way we make sure we get the best possible team, and then I'll just get you in. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yep.
If you want to make sure that you get a certain driver, if you don't care, just apply for everything.
Yeah, that's what I would do, because there were some situations where not many people apply for the middle teams in some tiers, and even if you're a new driver, don't hesitate to apply for the middle teams as well. We had one new driver last season of Nicky. He was the only driver to apply for Renault, and guess what? He got it. So don't hesitate to apply for the middle teams if you want to. They'll just be, if you're new, there's just less chance that you will get that seat. You just got to hope that no one else applies for that seat, and then you'll get it, really. So, Yeah, that is pretty much it. So I don't know why I put position tier up again. I'm not entirely sure. But that is it then for the tier announcement. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening because it's really hot in my room, and I think it's hot in Austin's room as well. So yeah, we better go. I'm afraid. So thanks for watching. Don't forget the season starts in a couple of weeks' time, and you'll get to see all 80 drivers fight out for who is going to be the Prospect Champion, the Precision Champion, the Podium Champion, and the Pinnacle Champion. Will anyone beat our reigning champions off their perch? And can Louis and Janel defend their crowns? We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for Austin for joining me in the commentary box. Well, not commentary box, in the tier announcements box for tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we will see you soon for the first race in Zandvoort. Have a good evening, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.